Hello there, a very good morning and a warm welcome to KFM VPN this Saturday, 11th of October 2025. I'm your host, Judith Atim, and today we are looking at Uganda at 63, the Constitution at 30. We're taking an appraisal of the 1995 social contract and the quest for a mature democracy. And with me in the studio, I have the pleasure to host for the very first time Dr. Robert Ojambo, who is head of the History Department at Chambogo University. Good morning, Dr. Ojambo, and a warm welcome to VPN.
Good morning, Judith. I'm happy to be here.
Very well. My other guest will be joining us shortly. He's a little held up, but I'll be letting you know who it is as he gets in here. Of course, on the show, we give you the views, the people, and the news that matter. And we are standing, of course, at a critical intersection in Uganda's history today. Just this month, and precisely this week, we celebrated 63 years of independence, a journey that promised self-determination. And in the midst of that journey, exactly 30 years ago, we birthed the 1995 Constitution, a document widely hailed as the people's ultimate social contract. So the question tonight is, as we look back over 6 decades of sovereignty and 3 decades under this foundational law, are we truly living the promise of a self-governing constitutional democracy? Has the 1995 Constitution, meant to anchor our nation, become a tool for stability or a script for subversion? Well, I'll start with first, Dr. Ojambo, just your reflections when we celebrated 63 years of independence on Thursday. What were you reflecting on listening to the president address crowds at Kololo? What are the things that you think stood out for you, or the things that don't make sense, or the issues that you grapple with as a citizen?
Judith, Independence Day has really changed. I remember when I was a child, this was a day when we had, as children, we were allowed to be a little bit errant. They would organize at the sub-county, and all the kids would walk there, and everybody would go to listen what the independence message would be that year. And I remember it was a day when you were allowed to have sort of a holiday. It was like some Christmas of some sort.
That you'd look forward to as a child.
And you'd look forward to it. These days it is funny that 9th October comes and some people do not even know that it is there.
It's business
like,
as
for
usual,
example, in Kampala, I didn't see even any flag put up. They used to put flags on roundabouts and strategic areas. Not even at the Constitutional Square. There was nothing there. I passed there and there was nothing. Of course, there was independence celebrations at Kololo, which were controversial. You remember, I don't know how far it is. The CDF said that is the first time we are now going to have all independence celebrations at Kololo. They will not be rotational. And you see, the biggest trouble is this longevity of one government. So local people have started imagining that Independence Day is an NRM celebration. They forget that Independence Day is bigger than a party, is bigger than an individual, is bigger than everybody. It is a day that Uganda got its liberation from the British. If you remember that night of October 9th, 1962, you have listened to people who were there, people who participated. They give you a story and you feel, how did I miss this? I should have been there when the Union Jack was coming down and the Uganda flag was going up, and they gave us our constitution and said Uganda is now independent. It was a big thing. We were allowed. Nyerere once said that you rather suffer as an independent country than enjoying in the colonial hands. So it is a day that we were supposed to reflect, look at how far we have been, look at our achievements, and look at our challenges and see forge a way forward.
Okay.
These days, it has become a campaign day where the sitting government brags on their achievements. In fact, they don't even talk about the Independence Day. They talk about the day. You may think it is a star recita of some sort, or NRM day of some sort. So that is the problem. And you find that, for example, the other political parties, there was no show. And that is a very big problem. We are promoting multi-party democracy in Uganda, but other political parties, there was no show. I don't agree with their reason for not attending that day, but I think the people in power should find out why and how they can bring these people to the table. Then the common man is no show. I don't think in my village, in many villages of Uganda, there is anybody who celebrates Independence Day anymore. If you went to Nakasero, if you went to Owino, if you went to many downtown places, people are doing their business as usual. That day used to be a day that people close their shops.
And the streets would be empty.
And go to listen to what is being said. It is no longer there. But I think it is because people do not see how much independence has brought to them. And we need to now struggle and convince them why they should celebrate such a day. Yeah.
So I am glad you also took us a little bit to the beginning, and I want us to go back 63 years ago when the flag went up, symbolizing the end of colonial rule and the start of a sovereign state. You are a historian, thankfully. What would you say was the singular, most vital promise of 1962? And then when you look at the 1995 Constitution, how did the framers of it intend to safeguard that promise that we had in 1962 when the flag went up?
Yeah, I liked the founders of this nation. They didn't make anything complicated. On that day, there were three things that they emphasized. One, in fact, four: freedom. They said, at last we are free. Then, unfortunately, freedom alone would not make people live. So they put there three other things, and they said they were going to fight illiteracy. So education of the African was key. Then they talked about poverty, because people are very, very poor. The colonial establishment had really exploited the people, and they were really very, very poor. And the third thing was, so they talked about freedom, fighting ignorance, illiteracy,
and then eradicating
and health. And health, making sure that our people are healthy. And me, I thought that when you have those four, the people are not illiterate, they are healthy, they are capable of finding how to manage their livelihood, they are not poor, that country was going to move. And people were very happy to hear that. And you remember, in the period 1962 to 64, they were on track. The leaders then were on track. And Uganda was an amazing country. Thus, education system improved. Of course, they added on colonial and missionary schools. They added public schools. And everybody was happy. When it came to poverty, they came up with a number of policies. I remember there were a lot of plans, economic plans that they were coming up with. And there was that deliberate decision that there is no way you can compete with the capitalist who had been the colonialist done. There was that deliberate move to the west, to the left. When it came to health, up to today, there is no government that has come in Uganda that has challenged that first government of Uganda. Of course, the infrastructure was progressive until 60s. The health system. New Mlago had just been inaugurated in 1960. And many other hospitals came following New Mlago. There was a very clear policy of health system. Unfortunately, all this started meandering after 1966. After that crisis of 1966, Uganda started moving backward and staggering, as the president used to say, meaning Milton Obote. After 1966, Uganda has never been the same. Until 71, when we have a coup, then there was even a bigger problem. Uganda was banished because of the economic war and many other things that were happening here. Then the 80s, up to the mid-80s, there was a lot of instability. Although some people don't normally want to accept, but for me, I tend to feel that from 1981 to 85, Uganda moved towards a failed state. Then 1986, when the NRM came here, there was some euphoria of hope. People, especially from that speech that was given by the president in front of the parliamentary building, the speech of the fundamental change, where he said that what had happened in Uganda was not just a change of guard, it was a fundamental change. The only thing is that when I read it clearly again, he said, I think, and it seems he was not sure by that word, I think. So in the fundamental change, there were two things that were promised. The president promised democracy and sovereignty, and he explained that democracy would be anchored by constitutionalism. So he promised Ugandans that there was going to be a deliberate move to make sure that Uganda gets back to constitutionalism. So to anchor that constitutionalism, then you needed a constitution, because remember, Uganda had gotten independence through the 1962 constitution. The 1962 constitution was not a deliberate move for constitutionalism, but the British wanted to have some document that can guide the independent government to run their affairs. So they collected people here, district representatives, party representatives, and kingdom representatives, and took them to Lancaster in London, and they spent their time, and they came back with a constitution which was called the Independence Constitution of 1962. This constitution was not a very bad constitution, but it had elements in it which would really show that this country was not going to be stable. And
so, speaking of the 1962 constitution, because when you give that background, what comes to my mind is one thing: did it really reflect the spirit of Ugandans, or was it an imposition that was supposed to, an imposition of the British on Ugandans? What would be your assessment of that?
Judith, I have said this every time I go on air, and when I was lucky that I am also a constitutional student, because much of my work I've done it on the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. So I have read a lot of information about the Constitution. So one time I was reading the Uganda Argus, and I landed on this article which had been written. It was an interview of one of our famous professor of literature, Okot Bitek, who was a student then at London. And he described the process in which they were making this constitution. And some journalist asked him, and he said that they were treating the whole process like somebody carrying a sack of eggs. And these raw eggs, really. And therefore, it was very delicate. Yes, Ugandans' view through their representatives were there, but it was a little not carefully crafted. They wanted to please the powerful entities of that time. Kingdoms like Buganda were pleased in that constitution, and that's why you had a constitution which had two types of government in one. You have a republican government for the rest of Uganda, and a federal for kingdom areas. But more so Buganda, Bunyoro and others did not even pick up very well. So that was one major problem. The second major problem in that constitution, they did not deal with the leadership question on who would be the leader of Uganda. They said in the meantime, we are going to have a honorary president. Honorary president had not even come into show. So at first it was the prime minister, executive prime minister, who is voted by members of parliament. So they said that matter would be resolved in 1963. The third issue, which was very thorny in that constitution, was Article 64 of that constitution, which later says that yes, there will be a honorary president, and that honorary president will assent to any act of parliament. But in circumstances where the president does not assent, the prime minister would do, and it would be felt that the president has assented.
So, Dr. Jama, do you think the question of giving the prime minister more powers over than the president at that time was also problematic?
Very problematic. Uganda was coming from a kingdom or chiefdom or at least clan leadership where the leaders have a lot of power. They are absolute. And therefore, any leader who would emerge would have that tendency of absolutism. So now you have two leaders parallel. In 1963, when they came up with the idea of having a president, they said it should be a honorary president, so the prime minister would be the executive leader. And because of that, it was a recipe for conflict between the two. And remember, these are people who are muzzling the support of the people. Buganda, through their king, Frederick Mutesa, wanted to muzzle through their power in the constitution, and also the prime minister. So there have always been a problem. In fact, every country where there have been a president and a prime minister, there is always a conflict. In Congo, you saw that is what caused the conflict between Shombe and later leading to the assassination of the first prime minister of that place. In Senegal, there was a problem, and still there are problems. Everywhere we have had those two. And Judith, this is the problem of Africans wanting to copy things. So we wanted both presidentialism, which is an American system, and prime minister system. Is called the parliamentary system from the British, and we did not want to choose which one to take. We wanted both, and therefore having two power centers would really cause a problem. But quickly to move you forward, in 1960, because of these conflicts in the Constitution of 1962, it then means that in 1966 it cannot stand. So we have what is so-called the Pigeonhole Constitution. And the Pigeonhole Constitution was to remove Buganda out of the question, to remove the Kabaka out of the question, and it leads to the Kabaka crisis of 1966. Then, after 1966, they discovered, okay, we have removed the Kabaka, but these other kingdoms may also become issues in future. So the 1967 Constitution was now named the Republican Constitution of Uganda. So this is the constitution that goes on until Amin abolishes it in 1971. Now, in 1971 to 79, we don't have a constitution. Amin is ruling through decrees and orders. So in 1980, when the liberation, the UNLF came here and its government, they went back to 1967 Republican Constitution, which is later overthrown in 1985 by Tito Kello, who also abrogates it and announces a military government. 5 months later, Tito Kello is removed by NRA. Now, the NRA did not restore the 1967 Constitution. They started also ruling the country like Idi Amin through decrees and presidential orders. So the army, the military council, was the one that became the parliament of the country. They were not different from Amin, but they were only that they were not doing what Amin was doing until we formed the NRC, the National Constituent, the National Resistance Council, and the National Resistance Council decided that we have a constitutional commission led by Benjamin Odoki. So that is how now we started the idea and
of having a more consultative constitutional making process.
And this Odoki Commission, that's how it was called, moves around the country for about 9 months. And after that, they came up with a document, which document now became the working document during the Constituent Assembly 1994. Now,
let's look at the promise of the Constitution and even independence. I would say, it was for a nation where the law and not the individual reigns supreme. Okay. And like you just said, the 1995 Constitution was celebrated, still is, for the consultative nature, the bottom-up approach where every citizen had a say in how they wanted Uganda reimagined. But 30 years later, here we are seeing all these amendments, the clauses that many think should have been entrenched, the clause on the age limits and the term limits. Can we still call this the people's document?
Judith, until somebody overthrows it officially, until somebody comes and declares that this constitution is no longer working, it is going to remain a shadow in our political life. Why I'm calling it a shadow? The real person called the Constitution may have started walking away from Uganda, but we still have a shadow. But Judith, before I go into that deep discussion of the Constitution, I just want to tell you that this document, why was it a good document? It gave power back to the people. That's what it promised. The document promised that power had been given back to the people. And that is premised in Article 1 of the Constitution. Article 1 of the Constitution states that power belongs to the people who shall exercise it in accordance with this Constitution. And therefore, many of the articles in the Constitution emphasize power being given back to the people. And then when you look at that power, how that power is given back to the people, the Constitution emphasized this decentralized form of government, where people had to rule them or to govern themselves from the local village up to the district, up to the center. And that was an envy for Uganda. But the problem is that we had the hardware of decentralization. It lacked the software, and that's why you see now decentralization is a shell of itself. Then the other issue in the Constitution was the Bill of Rights. At Chapter 4 of our Constitution is one of the most envious part of that document. When you look at it, it protected every right that a human being has. But again, it was a hardware. The software has never come. So much so that Uganda now, some people who read history and you are telling them Idi Amin Dada and you describe what Idi Amin Dada used to do in Uganda, then they see what is happening. They ask you, what is the difference? What is the difference? The other thing in the Constitution was which everybody envied on how it managed the resources of the country.
Decentralization.
When you look at, for example, the resources like land was given to the citizens of Uganda. And Uganda has a very elaborate land management system in our Constitution, of course, emphasized by the Land Act, which came later, whereby we have 4 forms of land ownership, and they are very elaborate. Of course, some people have problems with some of them, but they are very elaborate to an extent that in Uganda it is very difficult, very easy for somebody to own land than any other part of the countries that surround us. And generally the document was good, but where was the document having some problems? The document gave a lot of powers to the president, and this is an issue that every commentator has talked against this constitution. About 46 articles give power to the president.
On that, we'll return and interrogate some of those issues after the break. This is KFM VPN. Do stay with us. Welcome back from the break. It's 23 minutes to 10 o'clock. My name is Judith Hatim, and this is KFM VPN. That's Views, People and News. And today we're discussing Uganda at 63, Constitution at 30, an appraisal of the 1995 social contract on the quest for a mature democracy. And with me in the studio is Dr. Robert Ojambo. He's the head of the History Department at Chambogo University. My other guest tells me he's still a little held up somewhere, hopefully. I really, really hope he will make it. We want to have, of course, we strive on this show to always have varying viewpoints so that we don't have just a one-sided conversation. So hopefully we'll have others join. So Dr. Ojambo, I want us to interrogate the four issues you mentioned earlier. From 1962, what the vision was for us to be free, to fight illiteracy through education, to eradicate poverty, to ensure that people are healthy. And also when you read the text of the NRM 10-point program and all the messages that the NRM under the leadership of President Yoweri Museveni have emphasized over time, these are also the issues they sought out to address, and they continue to tell us they are working on. But what is your assessment of these issues 63 years on and 40 years, or 39 to 40 years under the NRM? What is your assessment of how we are doing when it comes to freedom, fighting illiteracy, poverty eradication, and ensuring that we are healthy? Certainly, I know when you look at the statistics, we've made gains in some areas, especially in health. Even in terms of literacy, despite the challenges in our education sector, you can see the numbers. We do have a lot of issues there still. Teachers are on strike right now. The dropout rates are very, very high, but we still see enrollment still being high. And I think from the latest statistics, literacy levels have slightly improved. People can read and write at least. Basic numeracy skills are there. But I still need your opinion on this. And I wish we had an NRM person. We tried to actually get them, but we couldn't get a hold of anyone to actually come and give us this viewpoint. So I'm sorry, I just have you here, and we just have to have this conversation.
Yeah, when you look at those four broad areas of life, let me begin with the freedom. You see, freedom is a very broad area. It entails so many things. It entails peace of both the physical peace and of the mind. It entails security of both property and individuals and so many things. It entails ability for somebody to have an open discussion and freedom of speech. That is it. It entails equality and many, many other things. On a whole, when you look at today, there is some semblance of freedom. There's some semblance of freedom, and in fact, many people, the government commentators have said, you people are allowed to say anything, and that's why you are talking on radios. We used to have only one radio station, Uganda, Radio Uganda. Now we have numberless. It's very difficult to even know how many they are because they register every day. Television, the newspapers, and so on. You people can say anything. Therefore, you are free. And their measure of freedom is normally that you are able to speak. But to speak, a person must, whether they are in prison or wherever, they will have to speak. Freedom is a very, very big thing. There is freedom of conscience. there is freedom of movement, there is freedom to demonstrate and show that I'm not happy. So when you look at it, maybe we have attained 30%. 30% we are there. You can come to a radio station like this and talk, because they are aware that there are not so many people right now who have tuned on to listen to this. But if I am going to say what I am going to say at the Constitutional Square, I will not be allowed. I will not be allowed. So there is still that struggle. We are still struggling in the public place. In the public place, it is very, very difficult. Like in Kampala now, I can't hold a rally. If I'm not happy with my lecturers in public universities that want to demonstrate and go to the Constitutional Square and sit there, we will not be allowed. Look at every space in Uganda right now is covered either by a mamba or people who are marauding there with guns in there. So freedom is still work in progress. We don't have what you would call freedom. Like I would go to London. One time I passed at that house 10, house number 10. That's where the Prime Minister sits. And you find people there demonstrating every morning. Every morning, these ones are demonstrating over this, the other ones are demonstrating. And the police instead provides them security to say what they want to say. And when they get tired, they go away. Here, you will be beaten and killed or taken under a pickup. So freedom is a very, very broad thing. We are still progressing, but we have sovereignty.
But sorry, Dr. Jambo. You know, when you were talking about giving the comparison of 10 Downing Street and what happens here, and I just had this mental picture of the several times we've had demonstrations in Kampala, and how they quickly, even when they're peaceful, they quickly get hijacked by certain selfish individuals who end up looting shops and so on. So you would clearly see that there's a problem on either side, on the side of some of the citizens, but also on the side of the law enforcement. How do we actually get to a society where you have that sanity to a point where the citizens know what the rules of a demonstration are in terms of exercising their civic rights, but also on the other hand, the law enforcement agencies know that enforcing law and order does not have to descend into brutality? At what point do you think we can get to having that balance so that the cause of a demonstration does not get lost or watered down through such kinds of silly acts, I should say?
Judith, you see, the understanding here has been that since vehicles and maybe motorcycles cause accidents, then we should stop using them. We should stop using them because we fear accidents. If you want to see one of the most dangerous transport facility in Kampala, here is a motorcycle. But we have not stopped using them. I am sure somewhere a motorbike has just been knocked down. So even in demonstrations, in rallies, in these things, yes, there are those bad sides, there are those bad people, and that's why you have the police. We have the police to keep law and order, and therefore the police's duty should not be to stop the demonstration in totality, but to make sure that those wrong people, because if I am organizing a demonstration, let me say that they have refused to pay teachers, and we have decided as all teachers, because I'm also a teacher, and we go and say we are demonstrating in downtown, and then some thugs who are not even teachers, they don't know even English, they join us and start causing commotion. Is it the problem of the demonstration or the presence of the thugs? So the issue would have been to see how these thugs can be removed. When I was still at the university, we used to have demonstrations over many, many things. Sometimes we would even walk to the parliament. And the police then was still police. It was still police which keeps law and order. They were not these army men and fighters who come to fight people. Because I've been arguing there is a difference between a police officer and unarm a man. A police officer is trained to keep law and order. Unarm a man is trained to fight. So whenever you take unarm a man to deal with the demonstration, he's going to fight demonstrators. And that's why we have always had problems. And I want to tell you, Judith, a demonstration would be peaceful until police gets involved. When police gets involved, that's when a demonstration would become riotous. So for me, I think people have been demonstrating. There were riots, and the things you have talked about have happened. Some shops have been looted, but it is not always that when there is a demonstration, there will be looting. Recently, there was a group of people putting on yellow T-shirts. They demonstrated at the German embassy, and they were being protected by police, and they walked there. They went and abused the German ambassador, and he said all sorts of things. They were just almost abusing his mother. But nobody was chased away. The police was instead protecting them. So if we applied such a model, let's just assume that we used such a model. Recently, when they were nominating the president, and he had a rally in Kololo, how come these thugs did not come and take people's things? The police was there to make sure that the thugs do not come. And because there was no rowdiness, that rally, I remember there is a group of people who demonstrated from the summit view in Kololo and walked down here. And I didn't see any problem. It is just that because of the partisaniness of sometimes our security organizations, I think they are the ones who cause more havoc than others. But let me go to the other issues.
I want us to move to the issue of illiteracy, and you are in the education space.
Yes, when you look at education, yes, Uganda has achieved something in as far as education is concerned, no doubt. In Africa, we are doing very well. There are a few countries that are ahead of us, maybe Zimbabwe, Kenya, we are moving at par, and many other countries. In education, in fact, there was a time when Ugandan's education was a model in the region, to an extent that so many people from Rwanda, from Kenya, from Tanzania,
and across the continent,
South Sudan, were coming to study here. Makerere one time was seen as the Harvard of Africa. I don't know now what they call it. I don't know. It may not be Harvard, but it's still a reputable university, and many other universities. So we have achieved something. But that is quantitatively. Quantitatively, you can count statistics. They say that the literacy rate is now about 76%. So that is good. People can read and write, can speak English, and many of the things. But qualitatively, because education, according to Nyerere, education is supposed, the major purpose of education is for the development of the people, for self-sustenance. Now the question is, has our education helped us to sustain ourselves? The answer is a big no. Why? Because we have picked models that do not work in most cases. Right now, the model is education for sciences, to make sure that science and technology are the things to be emphasized on. Very good idea. All of us are scientists. I'm a scientist myself at this level, so I understand, although I teach history. At this level, we think, yes, it is okay. You need to develop the science. But will the science succeed when the morals are not fine? Our biggest question in Uganda here is morals and ethics. That's why we have corruption, we have so many of these problems. So is there any scientific formula that can remove that one? The other problem in Uganda, which is very big, from LC1 to the presidents now, is governance. Can science develop governance of the country? And once there is no governance, for some of us who study history, the Industrial Revolution in Britain and later in Europe did not happen because there were very many scientists, but because there was very good governance in those places. So I think in education, we are now moving backward. We had reached some level. We are now moving backward. And I think with this, you talked about the teachers. Can you imagine, Judith, since the term began, our children who are in government schools have never seen a teacher.
And yesterday the senior fours had their briefing. And they're starting exams on Monday.
It is a pity. And in fact, on Monday, the subject they are going to do is geography, which is an art. So it is a big, big problem. So we think that the government needs to do something. This competency-based education, if it is going to just remain in sloganeering, to have slogans of competence education, you need equipment, you need good teachers, you need good classes, you need good everything to have a good education. So education, we are still struggling. Poverty, that is where the problem is. When you read the statistics from UBOS, Uganda Bureau of Statistics, they give you a very good, impressive thing, and you would think, and that's why some people have even announced that Uganda is in a lower middle class economic status. For some of us who use our eyes, not the statistics, it is very difficult to see. Because this, just go to the village. In any village of Uganda now, if somebody does not have a relative in an urban center working with the state or a salary earner, it is a disaster. Because our people used to survive on farming in the rural areas. Because of climatical changes, now food comes from the town to the village. That is a disaster. People are really very poor. Go to eastern Uganda, go to northern Uganda, go to West Nile, and you are looking for poverty. You can just see poverty. One time I was doing a research and I asked a person to define poverty, and the man gave me a very good definition.
What did he say?
He told me, "You're asking for poverty. You want me to use words? Just look at the road that brought you to my home here. Look at my house. Look at my children. Look at me."
That's the definition.
That is poverty. And when I looked at that person, I really saw poverty. He was barefoot, in ragtag clothes. The children were naked. The house was a grass-thatched house which is almost collapsing. I had passed in a path, not a road, and I looked at that as poverty.
In other words, it was not about living below $3.
No,
beyond that.
Don't tell Ugandans about dollars. They don't know even what a dollar is. Because even a shilling, some people to get 1,000 shillings in a day is a tug of war in many areas, including in Western Uganda, which people think that is flowing with milk and honey. There is no honey there. So poverty is still disturbing. Unemployment is at its highest because poverty has a lot of ingredients. There is poverty in terms of life, people to eat. Many people in Uganda, and I don't want to go any far, just go to the universities in Uganda. There are very few students who have 2 meals in a day at the university, and these are the elite group.
The privileged
They don't have 2 meals in a day. And if they get a meal, they are not eating a better meal. They are eating, I'm not saying that Rolex is not a good meal, but you know Rolex
you can't
is
eat
not
it
good
every
food.
day. Yeah.
It is not good food. Doctors can tell you that if anything, we should have abolished things like Rolex. They are not good food for young people. That's why we have a lot of problems in Uganda now. So if people cannot eat 2 meals in a day, and they're in a university, they're in an urban area, what about the ones down there, downtown Nakatue, downtown Owino, downtown in Palabek, downtown in Kanyantorogo, down village in Kanyantorogo, down in Mulanda, in many of our villages in Uganda. So poverty is still very high. Income levels are very low, although the statistics show a different thing. They tell you how people are, but look at the people who are employed. Teachers are on strike because they are getting 400,000 shillings in a month. You can imagine. Just divide. How much should that teacher spend per day? He has children. He has medical bills. Now, the other thing that has made even poverty more serious is that the government has run away from provision of very many services. Not so many children can go to school in government schools. With our UPE, USE, and Waterview, there is a lot of problems in as far as managing school fees is concerned. In fact, the biggest worry of many Ugandans is school fees. Look at the health, and I will handle that with the next thing, which is health. Our health system is itself very sick. It needs to be treated. So before we go for it, you need first to treat the health system. If you have gone to any health center of any level, Health Center 3, Health Center 4, and a very good example was the recent exposure of Mukono Health Center. Was it 4?
Yeah.
Yes, Health Center 4. They all look like that or worse. So you go to hospital to get a prescription if you have any chance, then you have to go and buy medicine. Mulago Hospital has now remained a place for people to go and get their death certificate. So the population has grown. At independence, we're about 5 million people. In fact, less than that, 5 million people. We are now threatening 50 million people. We are, the statistics which came out last time was not very clear. So I don't want even to quote it because it's not clear. Up to date, they have never come up to tell us the exact figure of people who were counted.
Well, but they maintained it was 46 points.
Oh, they said they were still looking at it. There were a lot of problems. So let's say about 46 million people from 5. But look at this. We still have one national referral hospital, which was left here.
Well, Dr. Jambo, we are going to come back on the health issue. It's about time for us to take a break. However, if you're listening, when we return, I'd also like to hear your thoughts. At 63, what would you say is the single biggest threat to Uganda's long-term independence and constitutional governance? I'll read to you the numbers that you can reach us on 0392 933 933. 0393-262-933, 0393-262-934, 0393-266-933. You could also reach us on 0751-933-900 or 0701-933-934. That's after the break. Welcome back from the break. It's 4 minutes past 10 o'clock. This is KFM VPN. Our topic is Uganda at 63, Constitution at 30, an appraisal of the 1995 social contract on the quest for a mature democracy. And I have with me in the studio Dr. Robert Ojambo, who is head of the History Department at Chambogo University. Our studio lines will be opening shortly. We are asking at 63, what do you think is the single biggest threat to Uganda's long-term independence and constitutional governance? The numbers to call are 0392 933 933, 0393 262 933, 0393 262 934, 0393 266 933. You could also reach us on 0751 933 900, 0701 933 934, and have your say on this conversation of Uganda at 63 and the Constitution at 30. Just how far along have we come? But as we wait for the calls, hello, do we have a caller? Hello? Hello?
Yes, hello.
Good morning.
Yes, good.
Thank you for calling. May I know who I'm talking to?
This is God Willie.
Yes, God Willies.
Yes, please. I always enjoy your program every Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Now, I want to congratulate and thank our guest today, Mr. Zambo. I follow him everywhere.
Ah.
Yes, please.
He's smiling. He's even shy.
I followed him since yesterday. Yesterday was in another platform.
Yes.
So I followed him since yesterday. I'm so glad that you brought him today.
Thank you.
Now, people like Zambo represent a local poor man. Me, I'm from Arua district. Protesting what the government has done for people in the West Nile. Remember, government told us clearly, if you want development, vote NRM. This time, we throw away with Cassiano. We elected Obiga Kanya. Still, Obiga Kanya under him, things remain the same. Our roads are dilapidated. Our hospitals, if you go to hospitals, there are no medicine. People are walking barefooted. We're not saying the government will go and put for us, okay, allow us to go and put on shoes. We can't afford the shoes. Because they are currently, as I talk, if you go to the village areas, people are crying. Poverty. Money is seen in city areas. So I want to thank Mr. Odambo.
So, God willing, before you go, do you think this frustration that you have will actually influence how people vote in the next election?
Still, it will not influence much. People are still going to vote for salt. Whoever has given them salt, whoever has given them a matchbox. Have you seen? On that very day of election, people are going to be given matchbox. They're going to give you vote to person who buys for them warazi. Have you seen? This is the mentality we have. Unless now we as the community will wake up, that's when things will change maybe. But as for now, we are crying.
Thank you. Thank you very much, God Willis. That's really honest. Let's have another caller. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, too. Well done.
Thank you, man. Who I'm talking to? Hello? I think we lost him.
Hello?
Yes, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
May I know who I'm talking to?
You're talking to Florence.
Florence, you just reduced the volume of your receiver because I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Are you getting me there now?
Better? Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, the name again?
I'm Florence.
Florence.
Yes.
Yes, but reduce the volume again, please.
Oh, I am in the car. Let me just get out.
Okay.
Okay. Is it any better?
Better.
Thank you.
Okay.
You see, I still advocate for education in our country. In our time, we didn't have UPE. And our parents could manage to pay our school fees. Today, the government has offered. And you can now see how we, the parents, have become reluctant. We are not bothered about the fees of our children. Or even we don't have the money to pay the fees. So I'm still advocating on education.
So you're saying the parents don't have the money to pay the school fees, but on the other hand, parents are also reluctant now that there's free education. So where's the problem? Like, what is causing this reluctance? Do you think if they made it mandatory for parents to pay school fees, then more children would actually be able to access education? Because I find it a little bit contradictory.
Madam Judith.
Yes, please.
Good parents can afford to pay the school fees of their children. But then, the source of income, we don't know how we can now work out the source of income for the parents. The parents don't have the money.
Then it means they cannot afford if they don't have the income.
That is really the parents. I really don't know how to put it, but sincerely, the country, we need to devise another means of source of income to help the parents. You know, something which you don't put yourself maybe input in. You don't even mind whatever happens. So you see, the parents have left the children to the government. And then the children are there, they cannot pay the school fees of their own children. So the government is now meeting all that. But if the parents were allowed to pay the school fees of their children, these parents sincerely would really be minding about their children's education. One, two, employment. Employment is not on merit. You find people going for interviews, at the end of it all, we don't know what happens with the employment. Then I go to public service. Public service is not doing us a good service. I wish most of these ministries would be taken back to central, most especially health, education, and agriculture. Maybe central government will really help us to manage these ministries. Because now, if you go to when you go to health institutions, I am telling you, I heard your guest saying that Mulago is not a place where you go only to get a birth certificate. It almost made me shed tears. And yet, that is the hospital, a national referral, where you refer your patient to get better treatment. And the doctors and the nurses who are there, these are people, few of them know what they are doing, but very many.
Thank you. Thank you, Florence. We really appreciate your contribution to this discussion. Let's get another caller. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Judy.
May I know who I'm talking to?
You are speaking to Robert from Chira.
Yes, Robert. Share your contribution to this discussion.
I want to first talk about the leadership we are going to elect. When you look at this general election here, honestly speaking, I looked at the way these leaders are looking for votes. When you come to central Uganda, they look at people whereby they convince them to show them they are able to deliver the messages of these people to the government. Now people send for them, they get excited because that is what they want. But at the end of the day, these leaders, they don't do their role. Then when you go to the villages, it's only the matter of bribing these village people by giving them 1,000 for sure. Now, that means these people of the village, they are not electing who is going to lead us into a rightful future. They are looking at how am I going to get survival? How am I going to get salt today?
Robert, are you a registered voter? And are you going to vote in the coming election?
I am going to vote. I am registered and prepared for that.
Okay, and so you've identified the problems. You know what the problems are that you're seeing. So then what is your role as a citizen to also ensure that you do not get hoodwinked by the leaders and you actually choose someone who you believe will represent your interests?
Now, that is a good question. For me, I don't vote or I don't choose like other people do because I know what I want.
Yeah.
I choose a person who is going to lead Ugandans into the future, who is going to fight for us for corruption, who is going to fight for us to stop this unemployment. Okay? Now, if everyone else was looking at my way, not in their stomach, we will going to have a better leader.
But Robert, as a voter, you could still also play your part and reach out maybe to 10 other people and say, look, these are the issues, influence how they think and how they'll vote. And then perhaps those 10 can also bring 10 more people and then maybe you would actually have change. Don't you think that's possible? Don't you think that's a role you can actually play as a citizen and as a voter?
First of all, in my position, I'm a public person and I can make friends as quick as I can because of my ambition. Now, it is a matter whereby some of Ugandans believe right now the best person whom I supposed to listen to first solve the issue of my stomach. Okay? That is now the ignorance we are having on grassroots.
And who is supposed to change that kind of thinking?
That thinking, it is supposed to start from the grassroots.
And you are in the grassroots. We are all part of the grassroots. When we go back home, we are the grassroots.
Yes. Now, as I said it earlier, people of the grassroots, they expect to listen to you when you first solve their issue of hunger. They are very hungry. They are frustrated. Maybe the child is not going to school. Okay? Maybe the child is not going to school. Maybe the family member is sick. They lack financial things. Now, this person thinks, need to listen to you, yet I have this frustration here, and which you have not yet solved. It will not help me. That has become a challenge on grassroots.
Thank you, Robert. We appreciate you for your contribution. Yeah, thank you. Let's have another caller. Hello?
Hello, Asim.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, may I know who I'm talking to?
Otim is my name.
Who?
Otim.
Otim. Ah, you're my namesake.
Yes.
Good morning. Please proceed.
Good morning. Yeah, I think the issue that we have as voters comes in the gap.
Reduce the volume of your receiver, please. Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Move away from the receiver, because I have a lot of feedback coming through.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. So my
Can you just step off, or maybe we'll just come back to you.
Switch on, switch off.
Just switch off your radio. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Yes, Judith, it's me, Angola.
Who?
Angola.
Yes, Angola. Good morning.
Morning, too.
Yes, kindly proceed with your contribution.
Now, Judith, what I know is when citizens are kept in poverty, they reach a desperate situation whereby they don't really see the value of the country. They reach an extent whereby a person can do anything to see a way of surviving. And that's what I see Ugandans have reached.
But Angola government says it has been promoting wealth creation as a strategy to eradicate poverty. What is your assessment as a citizen? Do you feel this that these strategies are actually working? Have you benefited from any of the wealth creation opportunities that government is giving out to citizens? Yoga, PDM, etc.
Now, Judith, government has some of the best policies that they have tried. Those programs are very good. However, what the government of NRM has failed to sort out is the issue of corruption. When there is corruption in the country, however much you come up with good policies to try to change the lives of people, they will not tell it. Personally, you are talking of this recent PDM. I have tried to apply for PDM several times, but I failed because there are a lot of costs that are being demanded from you, the citizen. And unfortunately, even when you try to report, actually corruption it's like a chain. It starts from the grass up to the top. So even if you say, okay, I want to report this to this person, the person you're going to report to is again who is the person who will betray you. So we have reached to the extent that Ugandans can no longer trust anyone. Instead, what they have resolved to do is to participate in the actions of corruption. Several times last year, one of my friends was trying to get a job to join the government. But what he had to pay about 3 million
to get a job
in order for him to get that job.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, thank you, because this basically underscores what Florence earlier said when she was talking about employment not being merit-based. Yes.
What I am requesting this government to work upon is the corruption issue, including the health. The reason why our health is very poor, it's because of corruption.
Yeah.
They allocate funds, they allocate resources to manage these services, but they are all swindled by people because of selfish gains, and all the leaders I see people voting into power. There is no leader who is going to serve. Most of these leaders are going because of their selfish needs. None of them is really going to serve, and that really pains me beyond.
Thank you.
And we have reached a very desperate situation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Angola, for your feedback. One last caller, and then we give the mic back to Dr. Jambo. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Who am I talking to?
This is Dina. Thanks for the great show.
Thank you. Who am I talking to?
This is Dina from Navuero.
Okay, Dina.
I'm giving the guest, Mr. Ojambo, his flowers. He has well elaborated everything. He deserves my flowers.
I'm clapping for him.
Thank you.
Big up to him.
Thank you. Okay. So, Dr. Jambo, I think everyone seems to pretty much agree with what you're saying. Godwill is a voter in West Nile. And he's actually frustrated. In the last election, they were told if they want development, they should elect NRM, but they do not see the development actually reaching them. Florence is also decrying the poor quality of education and the state of the education sector. Again, agreeing with what you're saying. Parents can afford, but also on the other hand, they have no source of income. I think she says parents have interest, perhaps, in educating their children, but they do not have the means to do so. Employment is not merit-based. Public service is not doing us any good. Again, simply re-echoing what Angola says in the huge trust deficit and the lack of merit when it comes to employment. And basically, there's pessimism throughout when it comes to the quality of leaders that will be elected months from now. Dr. Jambo, I think I'll give you back the microphone if you would. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
Judith, thank you so much. And I would like to thank the listeners. The listeners, I'm very grateful that you appreciate what we are saying. It is just premised on the fact that history does not lie. And for me, I'm in that field. We say things the way they are. For people to make judgment, I am not here to criticize anyone. I am just saying the way things are so that the people look at them and we get a way forward. There are people who are concerned with making a way forward. I hope they are listening. When you listen to those people, there are two major problems that are affecting them. One of the problem, in fact, majority of my colleagues who have commented, they are talking about civic ignorance, whereby the masses are civically ignorant. And that is why I was saying that, yes, we have got an education. The literacy
levels have increased.
Are very high. But why is it that we have people who are very ignorant?
Critical
They
thinking.
don't know their rights. It means that the type of education we are getting is not good. We are not getting an education that is for self-development. That when somebody finishes P7, when somebody finishes S4 or Senior 6, he should be able to know what type of leader they want to have. Majority of the Ugandans now have Senior 4, have Senior 6, others have degrees, 3 of them, 2 of them, but still they cannot understand on how they can reach a leader who will provide services to them. And we now want people who are giving us handouts. Leaders are not NGOs to give us handouts, to give us soaps, to give us... Once you have citizens who want leaders who are going to give them handouts, and I am very, very surprised that even government is taking that approach of giving people handouts. Government is supposed to deal with the macroeconomics of the country, develop infrastructure, put in place good policies, put in place good fiscal policy to run the country, make business successful so that people don't do business only to pay taxes. Make sure that when the agriculture system is talked about, it is an agriculture system that can sustain people. Look at the level of how young people can develop themselves. That is the government. That's how governments do things. Once government work on about 4 sectors, the transport sector, the health sector, the education sector, the industrial sector, people will just fit in. You don't need to walk around giving people pigs, giving people calves. They will buy the calves themselves. So the overriding issues there are poverty and ignorance. And that's where leaders, every citizen need to ask every leader who comes up. So at 63, we still have that huge challenge. And the frustration in the people can be resolved by speaking to them. I think many people, a teacher, a reverend, a politician, we don't need to start criticizing each other in these areas. Let's come up with ways on how we can develop our education. You cannot have an education where the teacher is disgusted. The teacher is disgusted. However much you have a very good curriculum or curricula, a disgusted teacher is not going to use this curriculum to get out a very developed person in totality. You are talking about infrastructure. Government has been constructing health center 4s, health center 2s, health center 3s, and whatever the hospitals they have constructed. But are you putting there the software? The doctor is disgusted every year. It is this year I think they have not yet striked. But every year doctors are putting down tools. They must be preparing to put down tools. Now, those people who are putting down tools, I was surprised last year that our intern doctors would not get places where to go and train in 2024.
And yet there's a shortage of
yes, and yet there are shortages of doctors in the country. Even those who have finished education, the president has been talking about emphasis for sciences. There are so many doctors, over 4,000 doctors who don't have jobs. Doctors, medical doctors, they have trained in Mulago, they have trained in Ishaka, they have trained in Mbarara, they have trained in all our medical schools. But they don't have jobs. We have so many technicians who have trained, and they are technical people in medicine, in industry, in so many places. But the government is not employing them. So where will they get jobs? People normally say, okay, let's create a private enterprise. In a country of poverty, how are you going to create private entrepreneurs? Many of the people who call themselves private entrepreneurs in Uganda, they are depending on government to run their private entities. Government is the biggest payer of all contracts in Uganda. You need to go and check. If government has not paid the contracts, they cannot sustain themselves. Why? The people are very poor. People are still looking for what to eat. They are looking for school fees for their children. How are they going to invest and become a private enterprise? The last thing that I want to talk about poverty. You know, IMF came here in 1995, 1990s. Let me just talk about 1990s. And deceived us with this theory of free market. For those who have studied economics, there is nothing like a free market. We get this idea from the market theory. And I want to engage people that the thing is a theory. Once it is a theory, just take it as a theory. Free market theory is the one which has led us into these problems that we are in. So much so that the government has left everything to laissez-faire. You leave education to laissez-faire. You leave public service to laissez-faire. You leave health services to laissez-faire. The transport sector to laissez-faire. Which country has done that? You go to England, go to Germany, go to these countries that promote these things here. Look at America, what they are doing right now. They are controlling every entry of goods and services in their country. For us, Uganda is a dumping center for goods and services. How will you grow industries when Uganda is a dumping center? So we need to sit down and review our policies and see how we can empower the people. Uganda has one of the biggest arable land in the country. We have not even used 10% of it. What happened to the agricultural sector? So we need people to sit down on table. And therefore, in this election, now let me comment about the election, since many people have talked about elections.
And we take a break.
Have you seen any situation where the people are allowed to ask candidates questions and they engage? It is just dancing, chanting, and at the end of the day, the only person allowed to speak is the candidate. And once the candidate speaks, music is boomed and they go away. We need an election where people say what they want the government or the people they want to elect can do for them. This election that we are going through is just a show. It's just a show. It's not something that can lead us anywhere.
Thank you. It's 10:31 a.m., so it's time for us to take a break, and then we will return for the last leg of this conversation. This is VPN. Stay with. Welcome back from the break. It's 10:36 a.m., meaning we just have a few minutes to wind up the show. We are looking at Uganda at 63, Constitution at 30. We're taking an appraisal of the 1995 social contract and the quest for a mature democracy. And with me in the studio is Dr. Robert Ojambo, head of the History Department at Chambogo University. My other guests couldn't really make it here. They do send their apologies. Hopefully we'll have them another time. But we're now in the tail end of our conversation, Dr. Ojambo. So I want us to, we know what the problems are from your submissions, from what the callers have also talked about. I'm sure if we had 1 hour phone calls or more, the conversation would not change so much. You know, there's so much pessimism. The service, our social service sectors are really, really struggling, no doubt about that. Even government admits, you know, that despite, we've scored in some areas, but the challenge is that when you read the NRM manifesto, it's very, very clear that it's still an uphill task for us to get to where we aspire to be as a country. So now, knowing what the problems are, I want us to look into the future. How do we move from here?
Judith, listening to what we have been discussing 1.5 hours ago, you would seem that everything is bleak. No. We are not at we have not hit a dead end.
There's still hope.
There is hope, but that hope is the Ugandan, the citizen, the lower person. That's why we spend time coming here to talk to each other and try to share ideas on what can be done. The first thing that all of us need to do is to go back to what one of the American presidents said. Ask not what the government can do for you, but what can you do for the government?
Or for your country.
For your country. So people are complaining about corruption. People are complaining about everything. We need to reflect and say, what can I do as an individual? You were probing our listeners by asking them questions on what they are able to do. Let's look at, for example, corruption. If every Ugandan who does not like corruption just made it a point that I will not participate in this thing, I will not participate in this thing.
I'll not give a bribe and I'll not take a bribe.
Yeah, I always tell my students that it begins with you. If you don't want corruption, but you want to give bribe, then it is not going to end. You want to receive bribe, it is not going to end. You see, what lacked in our constitution was the spirit. In fact, when you look at our 1995 constitution, the articles are very salient. They are very important. But the spirit to implement them, the will, the general will of the people, which is driven by honesty, which is driven by meaning what you say and saying what you mean. That is what lacks in Uganda. Many Ugandans don't now say what they mean. and they don't mean what they say. So the first thing that we can correct that approach is people being themselves. Listen to leaders. Support only those leaders who mean what they say. Don't support a leader who says a different thing and does a different thing. That one cannot lead you out of corruption. 2, yes, we have religion. We have the law. We have all these things. All these cannot lead us where we want to go. It is us to say, if the priest is saying this, how does it fit in our environment? You cannot say that you are going to fight corruption where people are eating money in the church and you are observing and you are still in that church. So for me, I think as we tell government to fight corruption, for me, when the traffic officer gets me, I hope this does not bring me problems and traffic officers start charging me, I rather pay for the ticket than to negotiate with the police officer. Because when I have committed an offense and I ask for pardon and the police officer refuses to give me the pardon, the next thing I tell him or her is give me the ticket. I'll look for the money and pay.
Besides, you don't have to pay for it instantly.
Yeah,
it takes
because
time.
that way, you even reduce the impetus of the police officers stopping you every time.
Because they will know that when I stop this number plates,
it is It is a ticket, and the ticket, they don't benefit from it so much. I've just used that example. Police officers, please, traffic officers, forgive me, and don't use this to harass me on the roads. But I am just giving you an example. You go to school, and they are telling you that your daughter is not performing well. You don't solve that problem by giving the teacher something so that they can be promoted. You do that by sitting with the teacher and the teacher explaining to you what can be done to make sure that your pupil, your daughter, your son starts doing well. So that is 1. 2, if you are given a job in government and you are one of the people who are abusing corruption, but you reach office at 10 and leave by 1, then you are just helping
You're part of the problem.
You are part of the problem. Let's do our part very well before we blame other people. Now, the other thing is my mother, who educated me up to this level, had stopped in primary school. And she was just a local woman in the village, but she was able to pay for us school fees. We are 5 of us, and we all managed to study. Why? The government had put an infrastructure that enabled that. With the coming of UPE, USE, and what have you, it vulgarized everything. First of all, you are talking about UPE, USA, but majority of the people are not going into government schools because they're not performing well. Just go and look at the statistics. So we encourage government, if you want people to come back to the schools, just put the good facilities in Nyakasura, in Chigezi College, Butovere, in Kachonga College, in Nabumali High, in Kitugum High, in Laibi College, in all these schools around the country, and our education will be fine. But if the facilities in government school are going to be poor, people will run to things that look like schools, and these are the ones which have caused us problem, where people now go to schools to get UNEB grades, but not to study. So we need, when you are LC5, when you are a local person, support your school, your local school, by taking their children, because we are the ones who build these private students. Let's just take our children back to the schools where they are supposed to be, and let's support those schools. Education system will change. The health system, it is funny. That one, I don't know how I can advise people, but we need to push our leaders. We need to push our leaders to bring bills in parliament, to bring policies that can improve our health sector. Our listeners were saying that the biggest problem there is corruption. Corruption is normally caused by lack of services. I will give you an example, and I want to thank people who are working in the permit sector of Uganda. I don't think whether you can go and bribe somebody at the permit sector in Ministry of Internal Affairs right now.
Works?
I don't know, Ministry of Works, I don't know which ministry, but that office near railway station in Kampala, you reach there and in 2 hours you have your permit. I don't think anybody can give those people any money for corruption because the services are there.
The system works. It's efficient.
Let's push for systems to work. Once systems work, corruption will just die a natural death. So let's push wherever we go. Let's complain. Let's not have this issue of keeping quiet with the problems. Let's complain. If you see a corrupt policeman, you see a corrupt tax collector, let's point at them. I know in the beginning it will be difficult, but once we work for systems to work in a hospital, that when I reach in the hospital, there is a doctor seated there. If a doctor is not there, how many people have reported to the medical administrator at the hospital that Dr. So-and-so, I have come here 5 times and is not there? Report. If you come to the university, to my office, you are looking for me and in a whole week I've not been around, just to find out who is supposed to be in this office. Report to the next office. They will be dealt with. So we need a proactive action. Each of us should find something to do. We must leave this business of going to look for handouts from government. You find people now chasing offices. They are going into RDC's office. They want to be put on a certain list. Use that time to do something that can help you. I normally go to these village areas. There is land, there is everything but people are waiting for a government official to come and give them money to buy a piglet. A piglet is 50,000, is 100,000. Get it and buy it. And when the other one who is giving the ones for free comes, tell him, for me, I don't need that. I need a good road. I need a good hospital. I don't need your pigs. I don't need your calves. Once we do that, the government will know that they are dealing with the serious people. But if all of us are going to become beggars and keep begging, the government will start giving us, and it promotes what I normally call the Stockholm syndrome, where the one who has captured you starts giving you gifts, and you become sympathetic. You become friendly to him when he has captured you and is keeping you in captivity.
So, well, Dr. Jambo, because we are also discussing the Constitution at 30, and earlier I remember when you were talking about freedom of assembly or the right to peaceful demonstration and so on, you gave an example of your days at the university where your demonstrations were actually peaceful. There were no cases of looting. You were always guided by police that would enforce the law. No bullets were fired. No tear gas or pepper sprays were used to disperse students. And you had access to the Constitutional Square, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
even in Parliament.
So I am just looking at our demographic today, with the majority being young people who are pretty much agents of change, whether be it social, civic, political. And I would just like to know, how can you center young people, and what agency then do they or should they actually have to reclaim their space as the voice that can determine and shape their today and their tomorrow?
By the way, Judith, demonstration is not always the solution to problems. So I'm not encouraging people to
even if they're peaceful. Even if they're peaceful.
But young people today want very easy things. And that has been the problem. And that's why they have been manipulated. Young people should learn that they're in the process of growth. And when you're in the process of growth, you should be patient. And you should know what you want. And be articulate on what you want. Don't mix issues. Don't, for example, you are fighting against exorbitant payments at the university. then you start chanting the slogans
Political
of a party.
slogans, yeah.
You confuse things, and that's why sometimes a naive policeman may think that you are not dealing with the issue that affects you, and you are just a sycophant or a trouble causer of a political party. So young people, I'm not saying that young people should not go into political party, but when they are practicing politics, they should stick to politics. But when you are struggling for issues that affect you,
social issues,
demanding for marks, demanding for employment, demanding for good health care, demanding for good transport network. Because when I talk about this transport network, look at how many people are injured by boda in Kampala. Majority of them are young people. And if I were them, we would be demonstrating, saying, please, can we get a regulated boda system that can help us? So number one, they should not mix issues. Number two, not everything can be resolved by violence. In fact, violence begets violence. Once you become violent, just know that the police is going to deal with you violently. Try to be peaceful. Try to have very forecast leaders who are leading you, and people who are leading young people. Please don't use young people as tools for your interests, because you just cause them problems, and that has been the problem. The government, the opposition parties, and many people, they think that they can use young people to push their agenda. Please leave young people alone. They have their own agenda. So young people and all the Ugandans, we just need to do the right thing. So answering your question in brief, I think that young people need to, first of all, be focused. They need to be focused. For us, when we were students, we would come and raise an issue and would not be derailed. Why do you, for example, abuse the officers? Why do you go and start? Officers are just our relatives, they're our friends, they're our brothers. So don't attack them. They are not your enemies. Your enemy at that time will be high school fees. Your enemy is poor transport. So don't attack people. And let's allow to engage. But also we want government to allow young people. Judith, in the early 2000s and late 90s, we had the platforms that young people raised their issues. Like, for example, in the whole of Kampala here, we had things called Bimeza. Young people would go there and raise their issues. And those Bimeza are the ones who have created the leaders that we have today. Because people would go there and share ideas. But now government enjoys having young people in disorganized ways of demonstrations. Gari, you know, these things of Gari and groups. Those ones are not things that build a country. Allow young people platforms. The government had introduced the barazas. Why don't we promote barazas where young people come on a Saturday like this and they air out their issues? I think government can do that. Institutions can do that. Radio stations like these ones need to go back to that model where they give young people. They sound naive, but in most cases they know their problems themselves. But young people cannot live without the elders. Elders must be there to guide them.
Okay, so we have about 5 minutes or 6 thereabout to end this conversation. But I wanted us to step back a little bit. Corruption has been a recurring theme in our conversation today, and many of such similar conversations that we've had on this show and elsewhere. I want us to look briefly at the effectiveness of anti-corruption bodies, the IGG. Now, we have a new IGG taking office. You have the anti-corruption courts and all these other bodies. When it comes, and also, yes, and the culture of impunity, how do you strengthen these bodies to actually ensure that they do their work according to their mandate, that is addressing this vice called corruption?
Judith, the institutions that were put there to fight corruptions are fantastic. Beginning with Uganda Police, then we have the IGG, then the Anti-Corruption Court. Of course, the president have come up with others in his office and in the army.
Unit, yeah.
Yes, all are fantastic. But the process, again, I normally think that the software in them is not correct. Number one, they seem to be, for example, me, I wouldn't believe that IGG should just be appointed randomly. Why don't people compete for these positions so that we get competent people who have very clear terms of service and very clear tenure, so that they don't work according to the appointment authority, but according to the terms and conditions of service?
Are you saying the state appointments?
These state appointments are very, very problematic, because in most cases, they tend to serve an individual instead of serving an institution. So, for example, if we wanted a good IGG, IG, Inspector General of Government, and his or her deputies, unfortunately now it is only she, and I don't see why men are not complaining. 3 of them are all women, and you wonder whether women are the best in fighting corruption. I think the first thing is to make sure that these positions are institutionalized properly, so that we get... I'm not saying that the ones there are not competent, is a high court judge, but who told you that the high court judge is the best in fighting corruption? So me, I would think that you need, first of all, how we recruit these people. It should be a competitive thing, so that you get the right person and is given right terms and conditions of service. Then, two, allow them to do their work. In most cases, the IGG has come up with the cases, and they are told to back off. The most recent was in fact, a number of cases that I can mention. I don't want to mention anyone here, but there have been a number of cases that the IGG has come up with, and they are told to back off. Now, if you are backing off, it is a selective... You can't have selective justice. Then these courts have been infested by the same problem that affects other courts. Is the land division doing well? Is the criminal division doing very well? Is the civil division doing very well? They are all in trouble. The court system in Uganda has almost collapsed. One, they don't have enough staff. Two, the processes there just discourage justice. Justice cannot be in these courts of ours. Then
you have just 1 minute, Dr. Jambo, and I would like you to conclude. It's almost time for news. Yeah.
So in my conclusion, not all is lost. We are here. We have moved from 1962, and we have run with the Constitution from 1995. There are issues in there that need to be corrected. And I think the solution is for Ugandans to come together, share views. Everybody should be listened to. This country should not have people called enemies. There is no enemy of Uganda. The enemy of Uganda should be dealt with by UPDF. The rest of us are just people who give our views, and we encourage every Ugandan to do what they are supposed to do. I think we can get back to the rail and move on.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Robert Ojambo. So this morning we set out to praise Uganda's 63 years of independence against the backdrop of our 30-year-old social contract. And of course, the quest for a mature democracy, as you all know, is ultimately the quest for respect for the law, for institutions, and for the will of the people. I am Judith Atim, and special thanks to Dr. Robert Ojambo, who is the head of the History Department at Chambogo University, for joining us on the show. But it's been a broad discussion, which honestly I have to disclaim that we cannot do this in just 2 hours. Even if we had 1 full day, we would not exhaustively discuss this. But thank you very much to you all who tuned in, and those of you who called in and contributed to this discussion. Thank you very much. I'm wishing you a happy weekend, and we do hope that our views on this show inform and, of course, transform the people wherever they are. Thank you very much. VPN returns next Saturday, same time. Bye-bye.